Here's our boy. I think he's 4, might be 6 years old. He's a Yorkie-Chihuahua. I think it's Terrier also. He's a mixture of a lot of dogs. Um, it's been a while since he's had a seizure. It's probably been, I would say, 2 or 3 months, somewhere around there. Pretty good. But what I was doing during those 2 or 3 months is I was giving him a lot of meat, pork, chicken, ham, steak, beef. He doesn't really care for eggs, but I gave him a little bit. I tried to give him some eggs. And when I was giving him those things, I was eating, like 5 times a day, 4 or 5 times a day, maybe 6 if I was lucky. Then every single time that I would eat, I would give him, every single time that I would eat, I would give him some food, some of the meat. And at first he was cool with that, and it was, you know, his seizures pretty much stopped at that time. But then, you know, then it started to get harder and harder to give him snacks whenever I was eating. He got tired of the meat that I was preparing or that was prepared. Um, he got tired of the ham, the chicken, the eggs. Even though he doesn't like eggs, pork, beef, whatever, all that stuff. He kind of got tired of it. What I would do is I would be eating the whatever snack I would be having, whatever meat, because I usually have four, four out of the 5 meals of the day for me are meat, pretty much meat based or protein based, and there's just a little bit of carbohydrates, maybe 15% carbohydrates. But anyway, so all that meat for me, and I would try and give him a little bit of that meat also. But he started to get more and more picky about not wanting some, and many of the times whenever I would try and give him some meat, if I dropped it on the ground in front of him, he would shy away somewhat, and the other dogs would, pounce in there and just grab the meat and just it would just swallow it whole. So he wouldn't get any of that meat at all. So I had to make sure that I actually hand fed him the meat and gave it to him directly in his mouth, and he had it in his mouth. Sometimes he would go away to hide it and kind of snack on it, but usually I would say I would probably give him maybe half of a fistful. If I were to put my hand in a fist, then I would give him uh, half of that in meat, and he seemed to be pretty good with that. He was decreasing. His seizures had pretty much stopped, for like 2 or 3 months, quite a few months. And I don't know if he was more apt to eat meat if he was, or if it was winter or not, because maybe during the cold weather he is more interested in eating meat. And what I did also with that meat is I would put it in the microwave, even though I put the meat in the microwave now also to reheat it. So I don't know, maybe that doesn't matter. I don't know. Maybe the cold weather makes him more apt to eat meat. I don't know. But anyway, I really think that the meat is a way to get him to help him stop having seizures. Um, but and I'm cheap. I don't want to give him. I don't want to give him pills. I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't want to go to the vet and get pills and have to buy pills for him. I think that I'm like, what do they call that, homedic cures. I'm more interested in homeopathic cures. I'm more interested in just giving him some natural stuff, kind of natural, beef. I mean, it's been processed, but it's pretty much, natural. So anyway, I give him some meat, and that's pretty good to get rid of his seizures. But like I said, he's been getting more and more picky about the meat consumption. So it doesn't matter, no matter how many times I offer him the meat, and if I chew it up, and if I take it from my mouth and give it to him, then he's a little bit more. It's a little bit more appealing for him. But still, he just even then, even after I chew up some of the meat and I take it from my mouth and I put it in my hand and I actually give it to him in his mouth, then he's still not interested in eating the meat. Um, Sometimes he does, but that's very rare occasion. And also, he's a little bit more apt to eat the meat. He's a little bit more apt to eat if the other dogs are around, because he feels like he's getting something special. Um, you know, he if he sees the other kids want it, if the other dogs want it, then that means that he should probably have it too. So anyway, just giving him meat, and hopefully that decreases the seizures. But lately, he's been not eating that meat so much, and so what's happening is yesterday he had a pretty big seizure, from what my wife said, and then and what he does usually after having the seizure is he usually throws up. Um, you know, usually sometimes he has like one big seizure, and then other times he has a few seizures, like I would say 5 or maybe 6 in a row, but mostly he what he does after he's like, his hair will twitch, kind of it kind of gets trembling. His hair trembles, so I can kind of see when he's still going to have a seizure. And whenever he's having a seizure, he will he will kind of back away. It's like his back legs backpedal is all he does, and so he tries to keep scooting away backwards. And another thing that he does after he's done having the seizures, pretty much, is he starts to lick his paws, and maybe that's to say, hey, arms, get working now. I'm ready to I'm ready to get up and start moving around and stuff like that. Another thing is that if he has seizures, if he's in the middle of a seizure, then his eyes get somewhat glassy. They're kind of like staring off into nowhere. I mean, he looks at you somewhat. Well, he looks kind of off to the side, but they're kind of glassy. But he's not really focused. You can tell that, and his tail is not wagging or anything like that. But sometimes, like whenever he's close to the end of the seizure, then he's more focused. His eyes are more concentrated. You can actually see, that he is more. He knows more of what's going on, and he will wag his tail